Hello there, it is Monday again, and Mike and I are back down at the shed. Mike is in the background there manufacturing some light pipes to put on the play field, and I'm getting ready. Well, let me flip the camera around so I can point at what I'm going to do and I'll show you. So you guys remember last week we finished doing all of the lights on the play field and up on the back box, but now we need to install all of the boards that go in there and the power supply that gets mounted on the wall over there. Now for the power supply, I actually took the power supply home. A bunch of the connectors were burnt up really bad, and the previous owner had just soldered the wires right onto the connector. So I took that home, replaced the connectors that were on it, and today we're going to mount that up, and we're going to have to replace the connectors that are in the back box. Also, we're going to install the displays that we've manufactured earlier and get those wired up. And then finally, as I said, we're going to get a set of boards and install them in the back box and start connecting all of that wire up too. So I am going to start by installing the digital displays. Okay, that gets those mounted. We're a little short on the long screws, so we're only putting 2 in each one. But that'll hold it up for now until we get some more screws. I don't know if you'll be able to see in here with me working, but I'm about to mount this transformer up against the wall. It just slides, and the transformer actually sits on the base, so that makes it really easy to screw in. Just have to get a couple of screws in place. Okay, for this table that we are building, we did not, or I should say Mike did not purchase a new solenoid driver board, at least not yet. But we have several that we have removed from other games because he did replace them without even knowing whether they were good or bad. This one appears to have a burnt spot on it, so it's probably very suspect, but the other two appear on the surface to be just fine. I am going to take my ohm meter and check the driver transistors there to see if any of them are reading bad. I mean, they should all read the same, so if one of them reads a little different, we'll just consider it bad. And out of those two boards, I'll pick the best one, I think. We don't need the high voltage section, so I'm not going to care about that. So anyway, we'll do that first. We'll use that board to start with, and if we find any problems, then we will fix them. But I'm just going to go ahead and zoom you guys in a little bit here so you can watch. And I'll start checking it out. I'll speed this up for you guys because this is going to be very repetitive and boring. Okay, this one appears to have a shorted one right there, fourth one from the left, so pass on that for a second. I'll go ahead and move on to this one. Looks real nice and clean. And we will start that again. Okay, so this one's a little bit different design. I just realized that you guys can't see my meter, so I'm going to zoom out a little bit so you can get a little bit better look at this. And I'm going to put my meter in such a way that hopefully you can see it. Okay, I think you can see that. And I have this on the diode test mode. And when I started testing these things, and this is just the first thing I started doing, I went across the bottom two legs with my negative on the bottom, and I get a OL reading, which, you know, what exactly the reading is not important as long as it's the same as all the rest of them. But somewhere right in here, must have missed it. It's really hard to see this from my side. Okay, right there, that one you see goes to 0. So I think that one is shorted. I'm going to just mark it with a thing to indicate that that one's reading different from the rest. And over here, in this board, same thing, similar readings, but down toward the end down here somewhere, I found one that was reading 0 also. That one right there. So that is more than likely bad. Now I'm going to continue checking these, all the other junctions and stuff to see if they all read correctly, if they all read bad, whatever. I'm not going to film that. But when I come back, I will have identified all of the ones that I think are bad. And this last board that I have here, you can see there was quite the burn right there. They've cut out that. Looks like somebody's already used parts off of here. Okay, a couple of exhausted players have been removed from the field. A couple of new ones have been brought up from the active reserves. And I've metered them out. They all look perfect now. There can still be parts bad on the board. I just replaced the power transistor, but sometimes whatever takes them out comes on up and knocks out the little activator for that too. So there is still a possibility that these are bad. But we won't find that out until we plug them in. So anyway, and that may not be until next time, but we'll see. We're going to go ahead and mount one of these in there now. So while I was busy fixing that solenoid driver board, Mike has been straightening out some of the LEDs that weren't quite centered in the holes. But last night while I was working on the indexing of all the lights from last week's videos that we took, I noticed that we had forgot to put an LED underneath the rollover. So Mike is installing one of those right now.
Yeah,
how many of
what
those?
percentage of this is all of this?
Hell, it's even got a couple blocks in here, so you can't get much stuck under there. I don't know.
I'll get another one.
Yeah, I got it. So we're installing one of our little double LED light boards to just sit under here, kind of in parallel with the switch. Let me get on the other side of you, Mike. Let's see here. I think that's good if you can. Oh, I'm overlapping. Okay, there we go. Can you?
Not with this current setup.
Tell you what,
extender.
Mike, let's take a pin and mark it and drill a little pilot hole just to make this easier.
Where did you take the pin with you?
If you're talking about the Sharpie, yeah, it's in the other room. You know, actually, I think I've got a position that we might be able to work from. This is like a ballet. Everybody's got to be in the right thing with their arms flipped over backwards.
bulb simulators now.
Okay.
So if you want to do what you're doing.
Yeah, I'm debating. Actually, there is not a lot of. I guess if I.
You'd have to run underneath the switch.
Yeah.
Which there's plenty of room to do that, and we have done that before.
Right. Okay. Let me get a screwdriver and take the switch out. Guys, look down here. We're having a problem with this LED, and it's actually a bad LED, because you can see I've got the greens there, and one of them's missing a green. If we go red, they all come on. Let's see. I think if we go blue, they'll probably all come on. Nope, it doesn't have blue, and it doesn't have white. So the only color it's got is red, and that seems to have gotten worse since the other day. So we definitely need to replace that board. Okay, we got everything hooked back up. We're still having a little problem with this LED, and we're going to change it. We haven't done that yet. After we buttoned everything up, the back box and stuff seems like it's working fine. So if I put them all red, they all turn red, and they look all red. And if we put them all green, they all turn green. While earlier a few of them were looking a little yellow. But this light down here is intermittent, and that intermittent could ripple on to the rest of the playfield somehow. So we're going to change that LED out right now. Okay, guys. We found a loose wire on that connector, so we didn't have. Oh, Jesus! So we didn't have to replace it. So we're gonna go do a little index testing on it now. Hold on. Okay. Way off.
I put them back to white.
Okay.
You want to turn the lights out?
Yeah.
Turn that light out.
So we're gonna be doing some index testing, and I changed my tester, so we're gonna be doing these one at a time by number. And Mike's gonna just write them down on a piece of paper, I think. If you got a piece of paper you can write them down on? So somewhere around 90 is the beginning of the back box, and the 1 here is the first number. So let me put in a 90, and let's see if we got there. Nope, we're still on the table. Let's try 95. Oh, we did add a couple more lights. So 95, 432, 92. 92. Wait a minute. 92, 93, 93 is 1.
So let's.
Okay.
Let me get you. You're over there. So So what is it? 93.
93 is
Player 1.
one player, actually, not player 1. Player 1 is up here.
Okay.
Okay. 1 player. 94 is 2 player. 95 is 3 player. 96 is 4 player. 97 is same player shoots again. 98 is same player shoots again, number 2. out of time for today, but we got our indexing done. I'm going to finish up the code for the board and get that loaded up, so hopefully next week we can actually start playing that. We have to fix some connectors next week and install the solenoid driver board, and we'll be able to start making some noise. So should be fun. So see you guys next week. Hello there. It is Monday again, and I am down here at the shed. Mike's going to be a little late today. His real work kind of got in the way. Had some teleconferences or something he had to do, so he'll be a couple hours behind, but he will get down here eventually. So since I'm tagging this onto last week's video, I don't really need to explain what we did last week because you just saw it a couple seconds ago. But we're going to be continuing on today. I'm going to be working in the back box. The very first thing I'm going to start doing is replacing the connectors for the power supply. They were burnt up. Some of the wires had been pulled out and directly soldered onto the pins. The connectors had been cut away. It was a real mess. And I showed you earlier that I had replaced some of the connectors on that power supply, and now I need to replace the female connectors that plug into that. So Mike bought a kit with connectors and pins in it. I'll be moving the good pins that are in the current connectors over. I'm not going to in mass cut and re-terminate all of them because it's really not necessary. But obviously all the ones that are burnt up or gone, I have to replace, so I'm going to do that. But before I show you that, I want to show you a little bit about how the coloring and stuff is done on these wires. Most of you will already know this, but for the odd guy who may be just be getting started in this, I want to show you how Bally does their wire coloring and identification under schematics. So let me real quick just pop you down to a schematic. It's going to be a printed page that you're looking at, so it's not going to be real clear, but you'll get the idea. So let me get the camera reset up and I'll bring you back and show you that. Okay, this is one of the wiring pages out of one of Bally's normal schematics, and they all look almost identical to this, at least in the era of pinball machines that we're working on. They divide it up into different connector areas. This area right up here is the transformer connectors, which are the ones I'm going to be replacing today. And then down here you have the lamp drivers, MPU, voltage solenoid, stuff like that. And let me zoom you in on any old random connector. And you will see that on the connector they show the pin of the connector. They tell you sometimes what it is and where it's going to. Like let's look at this one over here. So this one is going to A3J4, pin 3. So that's board A3, jack J4, pin 3. And on the other side of that you see a 15. Well, that 15 is the color of the wire. And that is shown in a little chart down here at the bottom. So 15 would be a 1 and a 5, which means it is a red wire with a white stripe on it. If it's got a 0, that means it has no stripe on it. So with using a 2-digit number like this, with 9 main colors, and 9 stripes plus no stripe, they can get 90 different color codes of wire, which is more than enough to build any pinball machine. So all of that is really great. And so let me zoom back out again. By looking up here, you can see that for the jacks that I need to replace, I have all of these different color codes. Now, I am a bit dyslexic, so trying to read numbers while I'm wiring and get everything correct would be a little difficult. So in my spare time, I made myself a quick chart that says that for J1, pin 1 is a 50, which is a white. Pin 2 is a 40, which is a green, and so on and so forth. I laid them out for all the connectors, so I'll be referring to this sheet. So the first thing I'm going to do is remove the cable from in here so I can bring it down and have some working room to work on it. Okay, the first connector I'm going to start on is this connector, and as you can see, it is in really bad condition. It is broken up. Wires have been cut off. Some wires have been, I don't know, spliced together or something. I'll have to take these apart, clean that up, put some shrink tubing on there, and looks like a bunch of these pins are burnt up, so I'll definitely have to replace most of them. But anyway, I am going to get started on this. I don't think I'm going to film it. I don't think it's going to be a lot of interesting stuff. I'm going to fight at getting these pins out of here. So normally you just have to press down on this detent on the end and you can pull these out. Then normally you have to get under there with a little razor blade and bend that pin back up, and then you can insert it into the new connector. So I need to figure out how these connectors are oriented and how these pins go in there, and even if these are compatible pins. I think they are. And I think this goes this way, so this should go in like this. Yep, and that goes in there and latches okay. So one by one I'm going to move the pins over from this connector to this connector where the pins are good. And I'm going to get all that done first, and then I'll come back and show you me terminating some of the ones that have to be re-terminated. Okay, I have transferred as many of the wires as I could before I ran into two wires that need to be terminated. There was a little bit of confusion I had to check out because I really don't know where these wires go, and the next wire that goes in here, well, it's red and orange, but there are two unconnected orange wires. So looking at the schematic, the first connector I need goes to the general illumination bus, and that's going to be a thick wire. And the other wire goes to the sound card, which I'm not sure this is in frame, but it goes to this connector, and you can see that this has a small wire on it. So the small wire is the sound card one, the thick wire is the general illumination one. So now that I know what that is, I can go on and comfortably terminate this and put it in the connector. So this red wire still has a little bit of connector on it, so I need to cut that off. And then I'll just strip the ends a little bit. It doesn't really take much, a mil or two, 1/8 of an inch is all you need there. And you just need the connectors. You absolutely, well, I won't say you absolutely have to have a crimping tool, but I highly recommend that if you're going to do any wiring like this, you get one of these crimping tools. You can get them fairly inexpensively. The wire just pushes in there, he said, and crimps down, and you got it. Except I don't like the way that one went in. Nope, that was bad. So we'll do that again. Oops. So you just take this wire and slide it in. You got to get the insulation past, and I am definitely having issues. They might have given me two different sizes. Okay, now that's a perfect connector. As it turns out, I have two different sizes of these. I have some thick ones, some big heavy gauge ones, and some finer gauge ones, and I was using the wrong size. So make sure you got the right ones. And if you do, then they're pretty easy to terminate. Yep, right tool for the right job. That works perfectly. Okay, so now plugging this in, we go gray, and then the next one is red. And of course I'm not getting it to go in. So I got it the wrong way around. Nope, those aren't going to work either. These connectors don't fit. Okay, I'm turning off the video until I figure out what's going on. Okay, mystery solved. With the connectors that we got from Big Daddy, there were two packages of connectors. There's one labeled 156, and 156 is the spacing of these connectors. So the big ones are 156, the tiny ones are 100s. So this is a 156 AT and 156 BT. The BTs are the heavier duty ones. These, which I just happen to have in the same box, actually go to another connector that is similar. It's another 156 that we picked up from China, and it's a slightly different variant. So those didn't fit, so I cut them back off. I'm going to recrimp or re-strip, and oops, that's not quite enough. And I will use the larger BTs, which should work fine now. It's still a little harder to get in there, but What's really sad about this is that we're not even using the general illumination bus. So I wouldn't really have to terminate and connect these wires at all. But for compatibility later, there you go. Now that's connected. And let me get another one. That's good connection. Okay, so now the next wire was red and then orange. And now these snap right in as they're supposed to. Red, orange, and then a yellow. Which is probably this one. And that takes one of these littler connectors. And now that other little orange I was talking about earlier. And that again takes one of the small ones. That's a big one, that's a small one. Okay, so you get the general idea. I'll bring you guys back when I got this connector all done, and then we'll look at the other connectors, which, by the way, aren't in this pile. There's one that comes up from down below, and I think there's only one wire left on it, if I'm not mistaken. And that's the ground wire for the solenoids. And then I'm not sure where the other one goes, so I'll have to find it. And I just don't know where the connector is right now. I don't see it in this pile of connectors right here. So we'll see what we got. Okay, as you can see, the connector is completed. So what I'm going to do now is take all of this wiring harness bundle that I have, and I'm going to go ahead and run all of these wires, put all the boards in, connect up all the connectors that I have, and then I'll figure out where the other connectors are that may or may not need to be re-terminated, and we will get those fixed up. So I think I'm going to move you guys back and put you on high speed and let you watch this fiasco of wiring take place. I have you handheld because I wanted to bring you in here closer and show you what I have left. So remember I said that I thought there was a connector with one wire left on it? Well, this is the wire. I'm going to have to put the connector back on it. And I am pretty sure that that goes on that connector right back there. Now, I'm also pretty sure that this connects up to this connector here, but it is not the right size. So I'm going to need to do a little investigation, make sure that this does go on there. Now, when we got this machine, this whole power supply was just completely bastardized. That's the only word I can use that accurately describes it. It was torn up, pins were directly soldered on, pins were burnt up, spliced together, and I got a feeling that this is the wrong connector. But I could be mistaken about that. Actually, I might be, because it looks like this might go up here. Nope, doesn't match the key. Okay, so I do still need a connector to go up there. And I need a connector to come down here. We might be missing a cable. These two connectors that are loose in the corner over here used to go to the sound card, which isn't there anymore. And I don't see any other connectors. There is a possibility that there was a cable that came from here, ran down and plugged into here, that I haven't found yet. So I'll do some more investigating and I'll figure out what's going on, and I'll come back and let you know what I figured out. Okay, I thought I'd get a lot of time to sit down and rest my feet while I studied these schematics, but unfortunately this was a lot easier than I thought it was going to be. So to start off with, that big connector I had that had the black and yellow wires on it, that's J5 of the solenoid driver board. You can see this 85, 83, 80, those are all blacks, and then 75, 78, 74, 71, those are all oranges, black and orange wires on there. None of the rest of the wires are used, so that's that connector. And I actually already went out there and plugged that in. So that took care of that connector. So that didn't go to the power supply. So the two missing connectors for the power supply are J1 and J2. Now, J1, that's the little one I pointed to, and I said that there was a brown wire coming to it, and brown would be 60. And that's number 6 here, which is the solenoid bus. Actually, this is the return for the solenoid bus, I think. But anyway, it is the only wire left on there. All the rest of the wires were the playfield general illumination stuff, and we ripped all of that off the playfield when we put on our LEDs. So there's only one wire left, and that's going to go to that one. So I need to make up that connector with that brown wire on it. So the other wire, it sits here, and it says it goes to the cabinet, and it's the AC power input ground, switch power going out, and a few other things. So obviously there's another connector down underneath the playfield that I forgot to fish up. That doesn't come from the playfield, but comes from the cabinet itself. So there's obviously another connector down under there I need to fish up, and that should take care of all the wiring. So I'm going to go back out there and see if I can find that and get that connected, make up the J1 connector, and then we should have everything wired up. Well, I figured out the reason why I didn't find that wiring. It's because obviously when we cleaned out this cabinet, we removed all of that wiring. So like the tilt mechanism over here and a lot of other stuff, all that stuff's out of here. So I have no idea where Mike stashed that stuff, but I'll look around and see if I can find it. So obviously we have a little more work than I thought we had to do here. I'm going to go back up to the top and finish buttoning up that stuff up there, just putting in the cable restraints and tightening it all up, making that one connector I need to make. So I got some stuff to do. Hopefully Mike will get down here in a little bit and he can just point to wherever he stashed that stuff. Well, I have just about finished up what I can finish up without finding the wiring that goes in the box down below. But as you can see, I've got all of the cables that go to the displays all laced in. I have the cable coming from the box below laced in. I've got that cable put back up that I took down earlier. Yeah, so everything is back up, and now we're just waiting for the stuff. According to Mike's original discussion, he should be getting here within the next few minutes if all of his work went according to plan. So I will wait for him to get here, and then we will figure out where to proceed from there. Well, as you can see, Mike has gotten here. He found the missing parts in about 10 seconds. We're vacuuming out the bottom of the box. And as soon as we get done with that, we're going to hook up that wiring so that we can get this thing plugged in and turned on. Okay, we got the hardware installed in the bottom. I'm not going to lift the thing up, but you can see the tilt mechanism is there. We have the flipper buttons in. Power cord is now attached. The two missing cables, or the missing cable going into power supply, has been plugged in, as has the solenoid driver board. And there was actually another one that went there and one that went onto the sound card. So with those wires hooked up, the whole thing is there and ready to plug in and turn on. First smoke test. I've been using the power supply at home, and when I rebuilt it, I checked out all the voltages and everything. So they were all working. So I'll put you guys back here so if it explodes, my camera's okay. And I'll go ahead and plug it in. This actually has a ground pin on it.
So you've got to use that.
This will make the light go out, though. Well, that's okay. Light can go out. I don't know if that switch is turned on or off, so we'll see.
We have a splitter here if you want.
No, it's okay. It's better with the light off. Well, actually, the lights aren't good. Only the displays will come on. Okay. So that didn't come on, so let me flip the switch. Wow.
Displays are working nice.
Yeah. Mine free games. We don't have a credit button. Can we play with
It's
that?
set on free play, so
I don't know if it. How do you start a game though without the credit button?
yeah. I don't know.
I think we're gonna have to plug that thing in just to get that
Just to get the button, that's correct.
Okay, we added the front panel onto it, so we can coin door. Thank you. I heard a solenoid light.
That's it. Game is started.
I don't hear any. So it's solenoids. So we got them here, but it's not firing the solenoids. Okay. So that means solenoid voltage of some sort. Unfortunately, guys, I am out of time for today. So we're going to have to come back and examine that. Now, it could be the solenoid driver board. Might be completely shot. And we have another one. Although, well, it doesn't use the solenoid driver board for this.
Yeah, that's this.
Yeah, that's that. So we can check voltages on the solenoid driver board to see if it's good. Probably quicker just to swap out and put the other board in just to see if that one works.
Which we can do.
Yeah, I mean, it's right there. That one right there.
Well, didn't you pull some parts off this?
No, that's the third board. That's in the other one. I fixed these two boards.
Okay, let's use this one then.
So,
Turn your camera off.
okay, guys, we put the other solenoid driver board in. We're getting similar symptoms. We started the solenoid test up, and the only solenoids that are firing is it's activating the flipper enable solenoid, and it's firing the free game thumper, and that's it. None of the other solenoids are working. This could be a wiring problem. This could be a power supply problem. It could be a solenoid driver board problem, but it's definitely a time problem. So next week we will pick up from right here and continue troubleshooting this. And none of the lights are on because we haven't plugged in the lights power supplies. But the fact that the displays are working is what we would be testing right now, and those look like they're working perfectly. So all in all, I'm pretty happy with where we're at. This seems like it's going to be a fairly easy problem to diagnose, so we'll let you know. So thanks a lot for watching, guys.